What's up, you guys? Forrest here with the FoCo Flow Show, coming at you from FoCo's Bike Shop for a change. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the pros and cons of yearly routine bike maintenance. Now, of course, I'm not suggesting that there's any question whether or not mountain bikes need maintenance. You're running them through the mud and the snow and the muck and the sand and the dirt and the rain and everything. And just general wear and tear on moving parts like cranks and pedals and forks, and if you have a full suspension bike, rear shocks. I am notorious for only doing just enough maintenance to keep my bike running and minimize the super loud, annoying creaks. But this year, with my 1-year-old IBIS RIPMO, I decided it's the most expensive bike I've ever owned. It was time to take care of it. And so I took it to the bike shop to give it a once over. Went to Blue Ridge Cyclery here in Charlottesville and worked with John, the bike tech there, who's worked on my bike before, talked to him about what I needed to get done. And so what I wanted to do for you here as we get started is to walk you through each of the things that we did on the bike, why we did it, and what the ballpark cost was. And from there, we'll give you the information you need to decide if that's something that you want to do to keep your bike running good. Stay tuned. So this is my 2019 IBIS RIPMO. Bought this bike about 13 months ago from Shenandoah Bicycle Company up out of Harrisonburg, Virginia, about an hour from Charlottesville. This is technically the NX build, the low-end build. It has the same carbon fiber frame and the options for whatever suspension, fork, and shock that you want on the bike. This is the high-end Fox factory front fork with the DPX2 rear shock. But working with Thomas there at SBC, they were super cool. They let me swap out the parts that I wanted and build up basically the bike that I truly wanted. Put the 1146 XT drivetrain. I've got a Wolf Tooth oval, carbon XO cranks, and then swapped out the level T brakes there for the new quad piston XTs. Been super happy with the build. A little bit later, after I brought the bike home, the KSI-30 did not hold up well, and put the Fox transfer dropper on it to match the Kashima on the front fork. Super happy with the bike. It's been one of the most capable bikes that I've ever owned. But those that know me know that I am notorious for delaying and doing the minimal maintenance and service on a bike until it's absolutely necessary, and can't do all that much here at FoCo's Bike Shop. So been running this for 13 or so months, and noticing the front fork was starting to slow down in that cold weather. And then I also noticed even early on in riding that when really high speed, chattery sections, the rear shock would back up, and I would find the bottom of that travel in, obviously on taking it to the bike parks and snowshoe, I would find the bottom out on that rear shock pretty quickly. Talking with the guys at SBC, they recommended maybe doing a volume spacer there to make it more progressive ramp up, meaning it's harder to bottom out the shock. Talking with those guys, and then I went over to Blue Ridge Cyclery, talked to John there. They were running some really good specials on their full bike overhaul, so decided it was time to bite the bullet and actually take care of my bike proactively for once. It started just because I wanted to do the front fork service and then the rear shock service. But as we got to talking, John explained, the discounts on the special they were running. It's that time of year, when all the bike shops run their maintenance specials. And then the other things that they were able to do for the bike. So I opted for the full overhaul package, and I'll walk you through sort of what they did and how that's going to feel, after we give it a first ride. So again, first and foremost, new fluid and seal kit for the front fork, making that front fork, smooth and buttery, just like new. I opted for the largest volume reduced spacer in the rear shock, as well as servicing the lowers on the rear shock. So they were able to do that quick and easy, no problem. Also, my rear brake was having a lot more travel in the lever. I bled it myself, it got a little bit better, but still not happy with it. So we got a full brake bleed on both the front and the back brake, putting that back in, adjusting the levers. They also tear the bike completely apart, clean out and check all of the bearings. If anything needs to be replaced, there's cost for that, but they would be able to replace the bearings or bushings there in the full suspension. They also pull apart and clean out headset, top tube, all of that stuff gets re-greased and put back together. Same with the bottom bracket. My rear cable here had been starting to fray and things like that. Super minor stuff, but while they had the bike apart, they put the rear cable in, they dial in the drivetrain, and then like I said, they can, clean out. You can see that this drivetrain is spotless. There's not an ounce of grit or grime or dirt on it. So we're going to make sure that we put some chain lube back on that before we ride on it tomorrow. They also put extra sealant in the tires. I actually had a cracked nipple on one of the spokes, so they replaced the nipple and then taped up and trued the wheels and checked everything else on the bike to make sure that it is in tip-top running condition. So, like I said, it was a little bit expensive. There was about a $100 discount, which ended up costing me about $350 for the entire thing. But that included the fork and the shock service, which can run you $100 to $150 by itself. And then again, about $50 of that was the sealant and the tape and the rim, spoke, and the re-truing of the rear wheel. So it probably would have been a little bit closer to $300 if I didn't need the work done on the rear wheel. So she is about as dialed as she has ever been since the day I took her home. So we're going to take her out today, get you some feedback on the trail, see if that volume reducer really makes a difference. I'm really intrigued to see if it does, and if we're out there and we find some flow, if it's a little bit smoother than it was before. All right, enough talking about it. We're up at the top of Ridgeline at Blue Ridge School. Let's set it down and see how the bike performs.
Starting on Ridgeline, the upper section, up over that. A little janky in the dark. Brakes. Have a look. Ahead, tight switch, backy. All right, there we go, not bad. A little bit pedally through here. And we got another right here. This is where I love to crash. I saw the rock that time. Comes left. Good, good. Also a little speed there. Come down. Really tight. Open up. Around super off camber. Good. Ooh, off camber rocks are your friends. Side of a mountain. Could be interesting. Punching over. Good. A little bit of there, but we'll take it. Oh yeah. And then come around here, this opens up a little bit. You're down. Ooh, Debbie. anything weird. Oh yeah, baby. Take the right line there. Whew.
So as we finish up here, I've got to say that I was extremely happy with the feel of the bike after that full bike overhaul and front fork and rear shock suspension service. So as we finish up here with a shot down the 4-shot trail to finish up the ride, it's different for everybody to say whether or not it's worth spending over $300 for a full bike overhaul and suspension service. For me and for the condition of the bike and the things that I was experiencing, I definitely think it was worth it just to get the bike back dialed in to like new, brand new running condition. Also, initial impressions of the larger volume reducer in the rear shock was that I didn't find the bottom of the suspension. It felt harder at the end, so more progressive, as advertised. So it was functioning the way it was supposed to. I liked the feel of it a little bit better. Felt like I was better supported in like the faster, chunkier sections, sort of like what you see here. So for me, I'm happy I did it. Had I spent the money. Hopefully I don't need to do it again for another year. And for you, if you're running into the same sort of issues or just want to keep the bike in top running condition, then maybe that full bike overhaul is worth doing. If you're in the Charlottesville area, then Blue Ridge Cyclery is a great one to go to. If you're out in Harrisonburg, go see the guys at Shenandoah Bicycle Company, or go find your local bike shop wherever you're riding. So in the meantime, as we finish up this run, go out and find that flow.